The world's a dangerous place. Get the industry's original and most trusted laser sighting system from Crimson Trace. A laser and light systems will enhance your effectiveness and help keep you and your family out of harm's way.
Broadcasting nationwide, this is Tom Gresham's Gun Talk. Your views, advice, and questions are the driving force of Gun Talk. Call Tom now at 866-TALK-GUN. That's 1-TOM-TALK-GUN. Or reach out to us via email at tom@guntalk.com. Let us know what you think about the gun-related issues of the day. Now, here's Tom Gresham.
All right, welcome back to Gun Talk. One of the things we like to do is bring in the various gun rights groups, and some of them you know and some you may not know, or maybe you have heard of. And one that I think a lot of people have heard of, maybe in passing, but they don't know enough about, is JPFO, Jews for the Preservation of Firearms Ownership, one of the great, frankly, civil rights groups out there. And joining us right now is Charles Heller. Let me ask you, when you get a chance, somebody says, what the heck is JPFO? How do you tell them what this organization is?
Well, we're a 25-year-old organization started by Aaron Zellman, who left us in 2010. Our original purpose was to try and wake up some of the Jewish people about the right to keep and bear arms. Our mission expanded over the years, and frankly, our mission is to demonstrate by education the true poison that gun control is.
Fascinating. Now, JPFO, to say it's edgy is not even giving it enough credit. I mean, you guys have been out there, and frankly, I mean, not over the line, but doing things that make some people a little bit nervous, but then you say, no, well, but just stop, look at what we're saying, and for instance, was it not JPFO that tracked back the Gun Control Act of 1968 and actually documented where it came from?
Yes, it was. Originally, Aaron Zellman discovered it through some research that he was doing, that the 1968 Gun Control Act is lifted largely from the 1938 Nazi Weapons Act. It was brought to America by Senator Christopher Dodd's dad, Thomas Dodd, who was a prosecutor at Nuremberg, and he used the United States State Department to translate the 1938 Nazi Weapons Act, and largely it was our 68 GCA was lifted from there.
And for those who don't know or are too young to know, the 68 Gun Control Act is pretty much the overarching law under which we live right now. It's the one that created licensed gun dealers. Before that, we didn't have licensed gun dealers. It created paperwork. It created age restrictions on buying guns. There's a whole bunch of other things in there that now are taken for granted, but at the time, we thought it was horrible, and it was. But for JPFO to track back and say, look, this is simply a translation of a Nazi document. That was huge, and a lot of people still don't know about that, Charles.
No, they don't. And one of the main things they don't know is that the entire idea of the so-called sporting use test,
right?
That in order to be imported, a gun has to have certain features. That's why you see things like copies and clones of the Walther PPK that have ridiculous-looking large target sights on them.
Right.
Because they had to have enough points to be able to be imported into the United States. That's where that comes from. It's right straight out of the Nazi weapons law.
Amazing. So, I mean, JPFO, of course, out there, the operative phrase, the first word is Jews, which brings me to the question I have to ask, because I always do. What the heck is it with the Jewish community in America being so overwhelmingly anti-gun or anti-gun rights or anti-self-defense? One would think that given the history of persecution and the Holocaust and everything else, they would be the first group to say we have to take care of ourselves.
Well, there is a word that I like to say is in Spanish, but of course it's really Yiddish, and the word is meshugana, and it means nuts and crazy. And what happens is the never again Jews moved to Israel. The take my guns Jews moved to New York and then retired to Florida.
Oh.
And it's kind of, I mean, it's an oversimplification, but it kind of really is true. But the reason is there's a sort of a corporate or a herd mentality to a lot of Jewish people, and that's the way that the race has survived, is by existing as a herd, banding
together, sure,
and using their brains to try and survive. There's a constant mantra in Judaism, which is they tried to kill us, they failed, let's eat. And it's kind of the way kind of the way we are, and by sticking together as a group and trying to rely on brain power rather than on muscle. The corporate mentality idea, that herd mentality, is they're scared of individuals who rise up and take responsibility for self-defense.
Even among their own, they're afraid of Jews who stand up and speak up for self-defense.
Right. And the funny thing is, if you look at the history of the Jews, what the Maccabees did rising up in an armed rebellion against the rulers of the time, if you look at the history of the Jews, we celebrate it of people who engage in armed resistance, unless, of course, it's in the modern era, I mean, if David today walked around in the streets of New York with a slingshot, he'd be arrested.
And then we have these attacks on Jewish centers, on Jewish daycares, and obviously they're gun-free zones because that's part of the makeup. But we're all left scratching our heads and thinking, look, of all the groups, and we know, everybody has to know, that Jews are more targets than others when it comes to terrorist attacks now.
Just because we're called Jews for the preservation of firearms ownership doesn't mean you have to be Jewish to join. If you want to join, you can. Anybody can be a member. It's a gigantic investment. I believe it's $25 a year. Or if you want, we'll give you a bargain on 2 years, $40 instead of $50.
And it's jpfo.org.org. Now, one of the things I wanted to point out is that you continue to do both great research, but also you do wonderful papers and materials, and I call it intellectual ammunition. You got intellectual ammunition, things that people can draw from and say, look, let me explain it to you in a different way. And you have all these wonderful papers and things that I think are very useful to people.
We have some award-winning DVDs. One of them is called Innocence Betrayed, and it's the history in the 20th century of what's called democide, murder of people by government outside of war. And a lot of the slides that you see going around the internet about the Holocaust are screenshots off of our movie, and Innocence Betrayed. We also, for people who would like to document how truly evil the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives really is, we have a movie called The Gang, and it documents, it actually gives a lot of physical evidence, or shows a lot of physical evidence of some of the just dastardly stuff that the BATFE has pulled. They're just a talk about a racketeer and corrupt organization. They're shot through and through with bad actors, and this demonstrates some of it. And if you want to, people who say, well, everybody ought to have a background check to buy a gun, show them the movie The Gang, and they'll have less of that opinion. And that's what we do. We provide the intellectual, as you called it, the intellectual ammunition for you, because you can't argue with your friends and convince them. They know what they know or believe what they believe, and they're not going to listen to you. But you can sit them down. You go over to their home or bring them to yours and make them a nice dinner and put a movie. Say, hey, let's watch a movie, and throw that in the box, and you will change hearts and minds. We also have ways, subtle little things you can do to help the cause. For instance, we're a 501c3.
Okay.
So by law, we are not activists or lobbyists. We're publishers. But what you can do is we have a bumper sticker that says gun control is not kosher. One of the things you can do, if you've got a Jewish legislator that wants to write a law that would, like what happened in New York with the SAFE Act, one of the things you can do is every one of them that's Jewish, you can mail them a bumper sticker like that and a copy of our DVD, No Guns for Jews, which is a history of weapons control against the Jewish people for the last 5,000 years.
Right.
Another is the DVD No Guns for Negroes, which we made with the Congress of Racial Equality. And you can, if you've got a legislator who's black or one who speaks out in favor of racial minorities, you can send them that DVD, and once you scrape them off the ceiling because of the title, and if they actually will watch it, they'll find out a lot of really good information, and that you can use to change hearts and minds.
And I can't let you go without talking about what I think is one of the most impressive things done by JPFO through the years is the Grandpa Jack series.
Yeah, the Grandpa Jacks are a series of cartoon booklets ostensibly aimed at kids, but really it's aimed at adults through the kids. And Grandpa Jack is this avuncular a fellow who's a friendly grandpa, and when his grandkids come over and bring their friends, he educates them. He's frequently sitting around cleaning a gun, and they're all aghast about it, and he shows them, basically safely shows them what a gun is and then talks about the history of it. And we've got some very provocative, very, very provocative titles such as "Does Gun Control Kill Children?" and such, and such. And they're very provocative titles. You buy them in packets of 8, and you can distribute them to people. I know people would give them out instead of Halloween candy.
You got, one that's called "Gun Control is Racist," which is, which of course, anybody who knows the history of it knows that gun control comes from racist roots. I mean, it was originally, in the U.S. at least, gun control was part and parcel of a racist movement.
So, if people want to learn things like that, but in a non-confrontative way,
right,
you can't be much less confrontative than a cartoon, than a comic book.
A comic book, exactly right. All right, it's jpfo.org. I would suggest anybody go take a look. At least go take a look at what we're talking about. I think once you start clicking through the site, you're going to go, wow, this is some pretty cool stuff. Charles, listen, thank you so much. I appreciate your help and very much support what JPFO is up to.
Accurate, powerful, consistent. At Double Tap Ammunition, we offer 364 loads in 83 calibers that give you exactly what you've been looking for. Try us out at www.doubletapammo.com and use the promo code GUNTALK for 10% off your order.
Hi, this is Doug Koenig, professional shooter and winner of over 60 national and world championships. If you shoot an AR, you need to be running the new Sharps Reliabolt. This bolt is amazing. The Reliabolt was fired 7,500 consecutive times by an independent test facility, jam-free. If you need the peace of mind and safety of not worrying about a jam, then buy the Sharps Reliabolt. Sharps Reliabolt is available at srcarms.com and tell them Doug sent you.
Are you looking for a place to shoot? The National Shooting Sports Foundation has a great website called wheretoshoot.org. It's the largest database of shooting ranges on the internet. It's also a great resource for shooters where you can find video tips, printable targets, and a lot more. Find it online at wheretoshoot.org. And while you're there, download their free iPhone app. That's wheretoshoot.org.
If you carry a gun, you need training. Your concealed carry class was definitely not training. But time, money, and obligations keep you from spending days at a shooting school. The trusted folks at Gun Talk can help. Concealed Carry 1, our DVD featuring the VADA Group, covers what gun, what holster, how to carry, where to wear your gun, and much more. Visit shopguntalk.com. That's shopguntalk.com. Look, this really is life and death. Learn how to stay aware, how to get away, and how to fight if you must. At shopguntalk.com, you can get the 2 DVD set, including Fighting with the 1911 with Tiger McKee. No matter what gun you carry, this vital training info can save your life. Learn the draw, the stance, reloading, vital gear from Gun Talk. That's shopguntalk.com. shopguntalk.com.
At Double Tap Ammunition, we hand inspect every round that we make, and we use only the best components to give you the best ammunition on the market. Try us out at www.doubletapammo.com and use the promo code GUNTALK for 10% off your order.
Got gun talk? As we've said for years, be sure and say thanks. Call your local station, or if you see them out and about, let them know you appreciate your gun talk. As for the version we won't broadcast, stick around and participate in the Gun Talk After Show. If you're on hold, tie a knot and hang on a little longer with the Gun Talk crew. Tom, Jim, Michelle, Michael, and you. We'll tackle stuff we don't cover on the airwaves. Speaking of the airwaves version, though, here's Tom.
I have a question for you. In your circle of friends, and the periphery of your circle of friends, we talk to people who are not necessarily gunnies, who are close to you. And maybe you're not a gunny. A lot of people listen to this show and they either don't own guns or just kind of, they have a gun but not into it that much. As you talk to your friends, if you talk to coworkers, talk to people you know, whatever, are you seeing a change in attitude over the last few years when it comes to self-protection with guns? I think I am. I think I am seeing and hearing more people who say, yes, we have a gun for self-protection, or yes, I'm thinking about buying a gun, or yes, I bought a gun for protection, or yes, I got my carry permit. Much more so than 5 years ago. And one of the problems that I have is the filter. They know what I do. They know who I am. They know that I do gun talk, and I'm the gun guy. So I don't know to what extent that filter is in place when people are talking to me. So what I'm asking is, in your experience, when you talk to people, are you hearing more people say that they have gotten a gun for protection at home? They've gotten a carry permit. What's your experience? I would love to know. My number is 866-TALK-GUN, 866-TALK-GUN. You can also shoot me an email, tom@guntalk.com. I want to get Gary in here, and then I got to talk about a Supreme Court thing that's going on. We need to talk about. Line 3, Gary's with us out of Waco, Texas. Hey, Gary, 16 gauge.
Howdy, Tom. I just wanted to talk about a Remington Model 11 I picked up some years back, and it was a beautiful, beautiful shotgun, and I ended up giving it to my dad for Father's Day.
Okay, not 1100, a Model 11. That's like the Browning humpback style, right?
Exactly like that. And this was a one I pulled out of a pawn shop, and it was in a little rough shape, so reblued it, redid the stock, and took it out, and it ran like a champ. It would pump rounds.
Interesting you mentioned pawn shop. I'm wondering how many people listening cruise pawn shops looking for guns. Do you do that?
Yes, quite a bit. That's how I got this one.
Have you found some pretty good things out there?
Well, that was probably one of the best things I found, gun-wise. I'll if I have some money with me, I'll go into a pawn shop and see if I can get the nicest gun for the least price. And sometimes I hit a home run.
You know, it's interesting. I wonder if the really good guns don't ever make it to the counter in a pawn shop. Maybe some of the folks there buy them, but there's got to be some deals out there. All right, listen, I appreciate the call, Gary. Thank you, sir. Are you a pawn shop visitor? Do you find yourself drawn in? Does your car automatically just pull into the parking lot at pawn shops when you go by? Tell me your pawn shop story. Have you found any decent guns there? All right, now, Supreme Court, U.S. Supreme Court. Tomorrow, I've got my fingers crossed. I got my toes crossed. If I could cross anything else, I swear I would. Tomorrow we may hear if the Supreme Court is going to take up the Drake case, Drake v. Jernigan, New Jersey. Here's our problem. We have the Heller decision and we have the McDonald decision, two major decisions out of the U.S. Supreme Court. And they said that you have an individual right to own a gun. However, Justice Scalia wrote it in such a way that it left a hole of misunderstanding big enough to drive a Mack truck through. And so a number of the circuit courts, in this case the Third Circuit, a lot of them have said, well, he said that you could have a gun inside your home, but he doesn't say anything about having a gun outside your home, so they're deciding you don't have a right to own a gun if you're outside your home. Yeah, I know that sounds nuts, but that's what they're deciding. So what we have is this case out of New Jersey. And this would be the third big gun case if they take it. And everybody is hoping they take this. Everybody on the gun side is hoping they take this case because here's what I think. This has been discussed twice in the Supreme Court so far. They do it in secret. It's a private conversations. And it keeps coming back. Somebody on the court is saying, I still want to talk about this. We're not going to let it go. I think it's Justice Scalia. I think Scalia would like to have a chance to correct his rare, sloppy writing in the Heller case. I think he would like to have a chance to say, people, which means all you circuit courts out there, this is what I said, this is what I meant, this is what the law is. Stop monkeying around with this. People have the right to own a gun inside a home, outside a home. It doesn't matter where they are. You don't have free speech inside your home and no free speech outside your home. Same deal here. I think that's what's going on. So if the Drake case is accepted by the Supreme Court, and we may hear tomorrow, then this would be a major case to go before them. And it would shut down. And in this case, what you've got is New Jersey is saying, in order to have a gun outside your home, to carry a gun, you have to show good cause. Can you imagine having to show good cause in order to exercise your First Amendment rights? No. If you have to show good cause, it's not a right. It's a privilege. In New Jersey and a number of other states treat gun ownership as though it's a privilege. You can have only what we say you can have. Only if you say, Mother, may I. And if you fill out this form, this 27-page form in triplicate, and if you explain why you need a gun. Oh, and by the way, self-defense is not a good enough reason. You do understand that in a lot of these states, a lot of these places, they say, no, self-defense is not a good enough reason. If you carried large sums of money, we might allow you to carry a gun. Imagine, think of this. Money is important enough for you to carry a gun. Your life or the lives of your children are not important enough. Money, cash, is more important than your life. Money, cash money, is more important than those little children that you are supposed to be taking care of. That is your life's work, according to the courts in New Jersey and other places. We should know, if you'll check the online stories, and I tell you what, go ahead and join up. Follow me on Twitter. As soon as this information comes out, I will put it out on the Twitter feed. If this Drake case gets accepted by the Supreme Court, it's huge. It could rip these constraints off that some of these courts have put on gun ownership, and maybe it will free Justice Scalia to get back in there and write an opinion that doesn't have all of these loopholes that people are taking advantage of right now.
Tom Gresham's Gun Talk is broadcast nationwide every Sunday. If you can't hear Gun Talk where you live, call your local talk format station and clue them in on Gun Talk. Stay tuned. We're coming right back. Now broadcasting nationwide on radio, via satellite, and through downloads, iTunes, the Gun Talk app, and other podcast clients. You're listening to Gun Talk with Tom Gresham.
A couple of thoughts. I had people send me emails of where you can find powder and primers, and probably my first go-to place is Brownells on the internet, Brownells, brownells.com. Because, of course, Brownells purchased Sinclair International several years ago, big reloading outfit. And so Brownells has lots of sources for powder, primers, bullets, that kind of thing. So Brownells is a good place to go. If you can't find it there, you know that website I've given out several times when you're trying to find ammo, gunbot.net? It also has, I now find out, powder, primers, that type of thing. So they essentially scour the internet for places that have powder, bullets, and ammunition in stock, and they have the prices and they list. So I mean, you can click on that, you go right to the link, you can order. So gunbot.net, amazing resource. Whoever, I don't remember who it was that got me into that, but thank you. Or I never, if I ever catch you, I'm gonna punch you in the nose because I've bought a lot of stuff off of that thing. It's a real good resource, actually. Let's see. Line 2, Marcus is with us out of California. Hey, Marcus, you got a 16 gauge?
I sure do, Tom.
What you got?
Well, I heard you all talking about them, and I was waiting for somebody to mention mine, and since they didn't, I thought I'd call. Mine is I've had for 56 years, and it was made by a company that not only made guns, they made bicycles.
Yeah?
It's the Ivor Johnson Arms and Cycle Works in Fitchburg, Massachusetts.
Well, I've heard of Ivor Johnson. I'd never heard of Ivor Johnson Arms and Cycle Works.
No, I don't think I've ever seen an Ivor Johnson bicycle either, but yeah, I thought you'd like to know about that.
Is this a single-barrel break-action gun?
It is. It's a sweet little gun. It's got nice balance and swing.
You know, we've had two other people say they have Ivor Johnson, that same gun in 16 gauge. I think you guys all have the same gun.
Oh, was that today?
Yeah, that was today. We were talking about 16 gauge, and we had two people call in. Both of them, weirdly enough, said they're 77 years old. They have Ivor Johnson, and they learned to shoot it by holding 3 shot shells between their fingers of their left hand, shooting right-handed, and they learned to reload real fast that way. Don't tell me that's how you shot it.
Yep, I'm 72, and that's the way I did it, too. I'll be darned.
That is amazing. Well, you know, the single-shot shotgun was the value of the time, and you had to learn how to reload it, and that's actually a technique that professional hunters have used in Africa when they're shooting a double rifle. They'll hold 2 cartridges in their hand also the same way so they can break open that double rifle and reload it. So you were doing the same thing, only with a single-shot shotgun.
Yep. So yeah, when you mentioned Ivor Johnson before, I must have been in the other room because I really love your show and I listen religiously every week.
So what are you going to do? What's your plan with this? Because obviously you got an awful lot of memories in this shotgun. Is there anybody in your family who would like to have it?
Well, I'm going to offer it to my son in case he wants it.
Mm-hmm.
And other than that, maybe my brother.
Okay, but at least you keep it in the family. I'm going to offer you a couple of thoughts, okay? One is that don't wait until you're dead for them to get it. Give it to somebody who will enjoy it so you can have the joy of giving it to someone. And the other is either write down or record stories about the gun, of hunts you've made, of people you've been with, whether it was your father or relatives or friends. And you could do that with either a video camera or, heck, for that matter, a smartphone these days. And tell the story. Good point. Tell the story about the way you loaded it, how it happened, you know, how you do it. Teach that system. But give them more than the gun, because it is more than a gun. It is now a repository of stories, but only if you pass them along with the gun.
Yeah, that gun put a lot of meat on the table, including my first deer, my first buck.
Obvious son of a gun. Isn't that something? But look, I appreciate it. That's a great story. I love that. And thank you, Marcus. And it's a good point. You don't have to tell the story. It doesn't have to be exactly right. It just has to be your story. If you can't, and this is for everybody, okay? If you're going to be giving us a gun to somebody, you're going to, please, I understand putting it in your will, and that's fine, but honestly, it's better, and they would rather have it while you're alive. You can tell the stories. They could ask you questions about it. If you can write down the stories, that's fine. If you don't want to, don't feel comfortable doing that, or you think, I'm just never going to get around to it, you can record them, audio recording. Tell them to bring over a video recorder and a camera, or even, for that matter, a cell phone. Shoot nice video with cell phones. Just sit down and say, let me tell you a few stories about this gun, and just get them down somewhere. Because by itself, the gun is just a chunk of steel and wood. With your stories, it becomes the touchstone for all those experiences that you had with members of the family, for friends, the crazy things you did, the way you loaded it, the deer you shot, the pheasant you shot, the ducks you shot, when you fell in the lake, when you turned over the boat, the time you got stuck out there. It's not just what you shoot, it's the experience. It's the, we did this, and this was crazy, and we were young, and all that kind of stuff. It's just, that's the kind of thing that we need to be passing along to everybody. What's your story? What's your story with your gun? I'd like to hear about it right now. You got a story that's connected to a gun, and have you thought about giving a gun to some members of your family, or a friend, for that matter, before you pass on? And if you've done that, I would love to hear that, how that went. 866-TALK-GUN. It's 866-TALK-GUN.
Everyone talks about heroes, people who do amazing things in extraordinary situations. Well, I'm no hero. I'm just a guy who wants to protect his family, to keep them safe the best I can. It's my duty as a husband, as a father, and I won't ever let them down.
Introducing the Carry-On series from Taurus, the ultimate collection of concealed carry firearms designed for discreet, reliable personal protection. Visit TaurusUSA.com to learn more.
carry on.
TopGunSupply.com carries a large selection of fine firearms and accessories. Get all the parts you need for your Sig Sauer, HK, and Glock pistols. Grips, screws, recoil springs, sights, barrels, magazines, holsters. The list goes on. Our knowledgeable sales staff, professional service, great prices, and super fast shipping are here to help you. Check us out today. TopGunSupply.com. TopGunSupply.com.
Long-range shooting is challenging and fun, but most precision rifle bullets aren't right for hunting. Nosler's AccuBond LR long-range bullets are designed specifically for hunters. They combine the incredible on-game performance AccuBond bullets have delivered around the world with incredible long-range properties. High ballistic coefficients make for bullets which shoot flat and defy the winds. The sleekest, flattest shooting, bonded hunting bullet ever designed. Nosler's AccuBond LR. For more info, visit Nosler.com.
Home invasions happen anytime, day or night. Do you have a firearm close by? You can. And still keep it secure with one of the great wall safes from Console Vault. Plate steel construction, 2 levels of security, and models which hide in plain sight. Install 2 or 3 around the house. Always nearby, but secure. Locked, but quick to open. Visit ConsoleVault.com. That's CONSOLE Vault.com.
Crossbreed Holsters is broadening our product selection to serve more of your concealed carry needs. With products handmade in the USA, like the bedside backup, gun belts, and of course our world-famous Super Tuck and Mini Tuck holsters, we understand what works, and we take pride in providing you with a quality product. At Crossbreed Holsters, we live and breathe concealed carry. We make and sell products that we believe in and products that our customers love. To see more, go to crossbreedholsters.com. That's crossbreedholsters.com.
A famous radio consultant once said he'd be off the air in a year. Whoops! Defending your Second Amendment rights since 1995 on over 150 radio stations nationwide. You're listening to Gun Talk with Tom Gresham.
During the break there, I'm looking up 4350 powder. I just found some online. What can I load with that? I don't know yet. I'll go find some. 4350 is a good all-around powder, been used in a lot of different rifle loads through the years. I'm sitting here going through gunbot.net, finding loading powder out there, going, oh wow, okay. I don't have any of that, but maybe I could use it. It's a sickness, people. What can I tell you? I sat outside on the back porch yesterday in the evening with 3 loading manuals and just was reading through them. And I mean, I get that it's gun geeky, but if you're into guns, and even if you're not a loader, and this is the point I want to make to you, even if you're not into reloading, if you can get a hold of a couple of loading manuals, and they don't have to be the current ones. I mean, you could go, I don't know, eBay, Amazon, someplace, local bookstores, I don't know. Find older. Yeah, reloading geek. That's me. I am. Okay, I admit it. I'm a reloading geek. I'm a gun geek. There it is. And proud of it, by golly. Make no apologies for it, because why would I? I can't change anyway. But no, back to the books. If you can find loading manuals, I'm looking through the Nosler and the Barnes and the Spear and, the Hornady, and each of the calibers has a little story behind it. It's like, here's the 7x55 Swedish Mauser by John Barsness. And it's probably 200 words, no more than that. But it gives you a little bit of background on it. And then you flip over and you go, well, how does that compare with the 6.5 by 06? And you read that one. And what happens is you develop an understanding for the various calibers out there, where they fit in the lineup and how they compare. And then you say, well, if I compared a 270 with a 7mm Magnum, how would that work? Yeah, it's a good point. Jim's pointing out, I got him hooked on this book, Cartridges of the World. It's a great, fun book. I mean, if you want to go seriously gun geeky, there you go. So anyway, that's my thought. Yes, I do sit down and read loading manuals. What can I say? If you do, go ahead and call me. I'd like to know. We'll share It's not an affliction. It's not. I'm not obsessed. I swear I'm not. 866 Talk Guns. Line 3, Joe's with us out of Des Moines, Iowa. Hey, Joe, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Hey, earlier you had a couple calls about the Ivor Johnson, and the man mentioned that he hadn't heard of a Ivor Johnson bicycle.
Right.
If memory serves me correctly, Ivor Johnson was a motorcycle back in the early days.
A motorcycle. Wait. Somebody just sent me a picture, sent me a link. There was also bicycles, regular old bicycles, Ivor Johnson bicycles. Yes.
Okay.
Who knew?
Who knows?
Well,
story of the shotgun.
Yes, sir.
I have a Stevens 311 12-gauge side-by-side. Okay. My mother gave it to my father as a wedding present, and I still have it. Shoot it regularly.
Now, when was that? When did they get married?
62 years ago.
Wow.
63. Yeah.
That's amazing. So you've got the stories that you heard all about that gun. Now, did you ever use that gun when you were young and growing up?
Yeah, I started shooting it when I was, probably 17, 18, because before that, my dad had bought me the mate to it in a 16-gauge.
Do you still have that one?
Still have it, yeah.
All right. Well, you know what I'm going to say now. You need to document those guns, write a story about them, tell where they came from, what they've done, what you've done with them, the whole deal, because whoever the next person to get those, and I might suggest if it's possible to keep them together, I would, but if you need to separate them to various members of the family, at least they would have the stories, because that's what's so cool about guns, and it's one of the things we never talk about. I mean, honestly, Joe, you never really talk about the fact, and we just don't, that these things last forever, and they carry our history with them. They're our stories.
I actually want to put together, the whole set of, each gauge. Why, I don't know, but just have the complete set of, all the shotguns and all the various, gauges.
I think that'd be great. I mean, and the beauty of it now is, it used to be you had to look around your local area. Now you can go on to websites like Guns America, Gun Broker, Guns International. There are half a dozen websites, and you could just look on there once a week and see what's up. And if there's a gun like that, you do a search and you can find them. And maybe the gun's in California, maybe it's somewhere else, but you can buy it, have it shipped to you, or actually to your dealer in your area. And now you don't have to look around just your local area or go to local gun stores to find it. You can look all over the United States, which makes it a lot more likely that you're going to find what you're looking for.
Exactly. The Internet opened us up to a whole new world.
Yeah, absolutely. For better and for worse sometimes. But look, I appreciate the call, sir. Well, yeah, we get the good with the bad with all of this. But it is true. You can find things now. If you said, okay, I would like a 16-gauge Browning Satori, and they make them occasionally. They do limited runs now and then. Ryan has one. And it's nice because it is on a 16-gauge frame. But you're probably not going to find one locally. But if you go on one of these websites, or several of them, there's a really good chance you're going to find it. Put in 16-gauge Satori and do a search for it. You'll find what you're looking for. It's amazing what's out there. And a lot of these places, in case you're wondering about it, a lot of places you can buy a gun, have it shipped in, and they have a 3-day inspection policy. So you have 3 days to decide, yes, I'm going to keep it or I'm going to return it. Just look at it. I don't think most places, they want you to shoot it. But you can look at it and say, yes, it was as represented. I'm going to buy it, or no, I'm not happy with this. I'm going to return it. So that's a pretty good way to go, too. The main thing is document the guns you have so the next people that own them will know the stories.
Join the NRA via Tom Gresham's Gun Talk website and receive $10 off the regular membership price. Log on to guntalk.com for details. You're listening to Tom Gresham's Gun Talk. Just because we're wrapping up on the air doesn't mean we're done talking about guns. Stick around for the after show. It's our podcast-only version designed to include all the stuff we simply couldn't fit into a regular show. Call in now at 1-TOM-TALK-GUN. Now, back to Tom.
All right, back with you. Tom Gresham. By the way, you can call me right now, 866-TALK-GUN. We're going to keep you right through for the after show. If you have not checked out the after show, by all means do. It's where we kind of let down our hair. We chat a little bit. We got all the folks in the studio here. We got Jim and Michael and Michelle, and we're yakking, and nobody's paid attention to anybody else. It's kind of like your family, you know. It's a gun free for all. Oh, by the way, if I haven't mentioned it, on my Twitter feed, we posted a picture. Mike Pfeiffer's the CEO of Ruger. He is the top dog there. He's also a former submarine commander. And we got a picture of him looking like the biggest goof when we were doing the show last week. You got to check it out. It's on the Twitter feed. A lot of things there. I have a question for you and a thought. And if you're on hold, don't go anywhere. We're going to get to you as soon as we switch over to the after show. But I want to throw this out for everybody. If you, and I don't care if you're 20 years old or if you're 80 years old, if you were to make your life an adventure, what would that look like? And it may be just small things, or it may be something big. But I just want to throw this thing out there. I don't know, none of us knows for sure, but I think this is not a dress rehearsal, this life we have, this gift we have been given. I think this is what we have. This is the one shot at it. And I know that most of us, me included, we get hung up in our everyday life and our routine and doing what we're doing and head down, charging ahead, just doing what we got to do. And we rarely look up and go, wow, on my bucket list, are there things I would want to do? Are there things where I'd say, you know, I've always wanted to? And I think about this because I fly an airplane. I've been fortunate, but also I've made a lot of sacrifices to be able to afford to fly little airplanes. And I have run into so many people who have said to me, you know, I've always wanted to learn to fly. And I just always have the same response. I say, well, then why don't you start today? Why don't you do it? Well, there's this. Well, there's that. Well, yeah, I know. I get it. I get it. And you can't go crazy. But at the same time, I just throw this idea out. What if you could make your life a bit more of an adventure? Maybe a lot of an adventure. And an adventure could be small things. It could be getting involved in community activities. But it could also be, you say, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go on an elk hunt. I never thought I could afford it, but you know what? If I said I'm going to do it, and in 5 years I do it, I can save up enough in 5 years. Sure you can. It's there somewhere. And scale that up or down to whatever is achievable. I guess what I'm trying to say is shake it up a little bit. Think in terms of what am I going to do with the rest of my life? Whether it's I'm going to become an NRA certified firearms instructor, I'm going to teach shooting. I'm going to bring young people into the shooting sports. I'm going to become a concealed carry instructor. I'm going to go to gun sight. I've always wanted to do that. Okay, make it a 3-year plan. I don't care what it takes. But think about opening up your life to the adventure that is out there. It's there for the taking. It's there when you want it. It's there if you'll grab it. It's there if you'll say yes. And ultimately, that's all it takes is for you to say, yes, I'm going to do this thing. It's your life. Make the most of it. All right, after show coming up. If you're on hold, don't go anywhere. Be sure to check it out. In the meantime, make your life an adventure.